So what we just executed was mantra meditation. We were singing ancient songs, one in particular, which is in Sanskrit, names of the creator. Oh yeah, that might help.
Housekeeping.
Yes, thank you. Hare Krishna. Let's see. Hello. Hello. Okay. That fun little thing that we just did is called mantra meditation. And it is, with our singing and dancing, we are connecting with something greater than we find in this world. And that is Krishna, the creator, who's all attractive. That's the meaning of the word Krishna, the all attractive one. And by singing like this, which is all attractive, we get happy. And that's the purpose. Everybody wants joy and everybody wants happiness. We got off our chairs because it's a good workout and you don't have to go to the gym. And it's all here. And this method is of mantra meditation, or what we call kirtan. It's the more popular term, has been going on for thousands of years in India. And I guess it's unique because this is transcendental sound. They're not mundane. It's not like something off the radio or something like that. It's spiritual. And it serves to cleanse, to purge. It's very peaceful, it's very calming. I think I saw a lot of happy, smiling faces. That's what I observed from my end. And this is what followers of Bhakti Yoga do on a regular basis, starting in the morning and whenever they have an opportunity. So I live in a temple, and we rise early in the morning. Some people consider it ungodly, but we call it godly. That time in the morning, before the sun rises, is very, let's say, advantageous for making spiritual life. So to start the day on a good note, we chant these mantras and we sing before we even have something to drink or something to eat before breakfast. And we take some time and study Bhagavad Gita, most notably. And I'm happy to see that we have a copy here. I understand that Madame Blavatsky has some connections with the, let's say, the world of what we call spirituality in India. And what's the name of the town? You want me to adjust? Adjust lower a little bit. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, that's good. What is the Madras? What's the name of the current name?
Chennai. Madras?
Chennai. Yeah, Chennai in South India. There's a big piece of land that's owned by the Theosophical Society. It's thick bush, it's forest, and they have lots of it. So there's some, Madame Blavatsky got influenced, it's my understanding, through Vedic culture from India. Okay, Hare Krishna. So does that explain it good enough?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So my name is Bhaktimarga Swami. Nice to meet you all. And Swami means you're a monk. And Bhaktimarga means path of devotion. So you do through life, you do bhakti, devotion. And I've been at it for 51 years. And I started right here in the city of Toronto. And no regrets. I would say try it out if you haven't yet. Or if this is an introduction for you, then I'm sure it's pleasing and it's something that you can stick by. It just gives you let's say, a little added feature to life, a deeper purpose, and so on like that. So thank you for coming. And I think it's a nice building. And I understand there's 2 more floors. Is that right?
Yeah.
Do
One
people
above,
live
one
there?
below.
Oh, below?
Yeah.
Okay. And do people live here? Okay. Just some microscopic little entities. Okay. All right. Maybe the odd mouse, like in every building, you know. All right. So thank you very much. We had discussed maybe just doing something about, in terms of a topic, about adjustments. And so we titled it Just Adjust. Okay. And I think that that notion of making adjustments, it's something that we do all the time, more than we can fathom. Just like, for instance, I'll be in this chair here for the next few minutes, and I'm going to make an adjustment. I'm going to go like this. I swear, I guarantee. I will be tired of being in one position, and I'll slightly shift my weight around. You know, that's just the way it is. I'm making an adjustment here. I have a little bit of an itch here, so I'm making an adjustment. I think to look at this book, Bhagavad Gita, and it's really all about adjusting. Really, that's the summarized understanding of the Bhagavad Gita, learn to adjust. And it's capsulized in a famous verse from the last chapter of Bhagavad Gita. And it goes like this: Sarva dharman parityaja mamekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo mokshashami ma shuchaha. That's found in chapter 18. And basically, Krishna, who's the speaker of the Bhagavad Gita, after all, it's his book, he's talking to his student Arjuna, who happens to be a martial artist, an archer, and so on like that. And he was just saying, learn to adjust, make adjustments. But life is all about adjusting. Don't be comfortable with where you are. People use that term, comfort zone. Get out of your comfort zone. That's when you grow. That's when you start to glow. And I was talking to you just yesterday, right, about building up thick skin, because you know that term, building thick skin. You know, like if a lion attacks a rhino, it's hard for him to penetrate because he's got thick skin. Same thing with an elephant, maybe not as much as, you know, a rhinoceros. But developing thick skin means that you toughen up and you deal with the different reverses or challenges in life. Well, I don't know if my skin is that thick. But I don't know. We need to adjust. You know, where if you don't do it voluntarily, you'll be forced to. Like if I was in Dubai a few days ago, and I was there just maybe 4 days before this storm and flood hit, you know, I would have to make adjustments, you know, if the wind is coming like that and torrential rain is coming, and if I'm outside, I'm not just going to be standing like here and even do yoga, you know. I would be forced by the laws of nature to make adjustments. I will have to move. I will go into some shelter. I will be forced to do that. And some people have a hard time making adjustments. When analyzing the 3 different body types that the Ayurveda talks about, from the texts from Indian Ayurvedic medicine, they say we have Kapha, Pitta, and Vata. And when it comes to people who are fiery by nature, they have a lot of Pitta in them. It's very hard to change them. It's very hard. They just are stuck in a position that they take, whether it's socially or politically or whatever the case may be. They're really stuck. They're like a tree that's big and thick, and if you cut that tree, you find it's 100 years old. And that explains it, because there's 100 rings within the tree, and it's no longer pliable or bendable like a young tree. like a young sapling. You can bend it like this, you know. One of my favorite trees is the weeping willow. Would you? It's beautiful, right? Just, you know, but the trunk is very thick. Don't try to even bend it. But the branches that offshoot from it are very pliable, you know. So that's one example. So for people who are a little bit stuck in their ways, you might not bother with them, or if people have attachments towards each other, if you want to change attitudes, you'll have to go to somebody else. You know, maybe people who are Vata folks, they've got a lot of movement of air in their body, and they tend to bend a lot, more than they need to. And that's usually advised you take the kind of food that will anchor you more. That people are in the other category, in the Kapha category, they have a lot of water and sort of earthy type people. They are kind of very fixed in some ways. So it's advised that they also take certain kind of foods and take to certain kind of activities that will help them to bend a little bit more, to get a little bit more in the middle. Yeah, so adjustment, just adjust. During the COVID, we've had to learn to adjust. You had no choice. I remember trying to go to the park. I said, you can't be here. I can't be in the park. I'd sit on a picnic table. You can't sit on the picnic table. Guys, we're coming here. I can't sit on the picnic table. Yeah, you're too close. Or you'll leave something on the surface. You know how it was. It was a little bit extreme, perhaps. You know, so kids couldn't go to the park and build up their thick skin, so to speak, or you know, just build up their resilience and build up their what do you call it? What's the term? Immunity. Yeah, immunity. We weren't allowed to do that. You were only allowed to, well, basically stay in one place. So sometimes that's necessary. Curfews are necessary. That was such an interesting time. I remember there was one period where hardly cars were on the road, and that was so beautiful. You know, and I remember one particular, in Rosedale, there's a particular bridge. There were some girls that just took over the bridge, and they were just playing ball there, you know, on the bridge, you know. And yeah, it was great. People were, you know, sitting on their veranda. I remember again in the Rosedale area, I was, you know, walking with a couple of other people, and they were sipping on wine, and they said, "Hey, monk, would you like some wine?" And I said, "I'm not going to adjust." Yeah, it was a nice gesture, you know. But we have our values, we have our vows, you know, and we stick to that. Now, our Guru Maharaj, Srila Prabhupada, he learned to adjust in many, many ways. He had the idea, well, it wasn't so much his idea, the seed of desire that came from his Guru Maharaj, Bhaktisiddhanta, was go to the West or go to the English-speaking countries because it's the dominant language, and if ideas or concepts take hold for people with English-speaking tongues, then everyone will be influenced. Of course, at that time, America was like the top country. It would be maybe disputed whether it is now. But so he adjusted, and he was given, he was said, let me go to America. He would go to America. Do some of you, are you into musicals? Musicals, Hollywood musicals, 1960, West Side Story.
Yeah.
Okay, it's about a story about Puerto Ricans, and there was the Sharks and the Jets, right? And the Sharks were, which one were they? They were the Puerto Ricans, I think. And the Jets were, so the Puerto Ricans were the, you know, olive-colored, you know, skinned people, and then the Jets were the red-haired Viking white boys, you know? And they were in New York, and they didn't get along with each other. The whole story is actually kind of like a modern take on Romeo and Juliet. That's what it was. And So the one famous song that came out, everything's nice in America, da 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 America. Okay, so that was the idea. So adjust. Prabhupada was encouraged to go to America, but there was some warning. Some of his contemporaries, friends, colleagues, whatever you want to say, they said, don't go to America. He wouldn't be able to eat there. And even his sponsor, Sumati Mukherjee, who was an Indian lady, very senior, she owned a shipping company. And she said, Swamiji, don't go to America. America's too cold and you're too old. She said those things, so she was more or less saying, don't go to America. And but Prabhupada kept in mind what his guru wanted him to do, to travel, to get out there. And other people were saying it's the land of the Malechas. You to go outside of India, land of the Malechas. In Greek language, they have a Maleka, which means the same thing, like untouchable, means don't go to those faraway places where it's not cultured, land of untouchables, that type of thing. But Prabhupada didn't listen to those warnings. He just kept in mind what his guru wanted him to do. And what did he want him to do? To share a culture that people more or less needed. I mean, I think the whole world has benefited from the culture of India. The land of Bharat. Like samosas come from there, and incense comes from there, and fine silk clothes, diamonds come from there, spices galore come from India, and also a way of thinking like Gandhi, Mahatma Gandhi. He was a forerunner of adjusting, doing things different. If someone is affronting you, if someone is attacking or becoming aggressive towards you, his approach was quite the opposite, kind of more like a possum. You know what a possum is? We have them here in Canada now. Possum, they play dead. And the first possum I ever saw in the Toronto area was one fine morning in Mississauga. And I was chanting japa, I was walking, and then I saw this, half-eaten apple, and then I saw this creature there, and it was like this. And all his teeth were showing. I said, that's a possum, that's the first possum I've ever seen in my life. So I kept chanting japa, and then I came back, 2 more blocks, and I came back, he was gone. He was gone. So they play possum, that's a defense method, Play dead, don't. I was in New Vrindavan, West Virginia. It's a retreat place we have in America. And I was chanting japa also early in the morning. And I saw a cardboard box moving. I know it's a mystical place, but this is ridiculous. So I thought it's probably a skunk. No, but I got really close to it. And I could see coming out of the box was not a skunk, but it was a possum. And when he sensed me, he heard me with my footsteps, and he just kind of walked away, don't hurt me. So Gandhi's approach was very unique. It was the non-violence approach, do it different. If you ever seen the Gandhi movie, he was in South Africa. It's a place that I go every year. And the British soldiers came at Gandhi and followers who were protesting against how the Indian, indentured laborers were being treated. And, when the forces came, Gandhi said, get down. And they all just kind of almost did like dandavats, showing respect, played the humble role. And the horses couldn't handle that. They reared up and they backed off. So playing a humble role, or taking the peaceful approach, has its merit, So the whole world got affected by Gandhi's way of doing things. And of course, he learned it from his predecessors. One of them, of course, is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, who had the same approach. peaceful, non-violent, non-aggressive approach. And so the world kind of adjusted. So I'm a 60s kid, 60s. I was, anybody born in the 50s here? Am I the oldest guy? Okay, all right, no problem. And we were trained, our mindset was that our parents went through the war. My dad would tell war stories, and it would intrigue us because we didn't have that experience. Canada in the 50s was a quiet, peaceful place. And people came out of the war and they said, we don't want this anymore. And then in the 60s, the Vietnam War was on, and the Americans, leaders were trying to conscript young men to take to fighting. And I've talked to many of my godbrothers who were part of that. There's Sureshwara, there's Radhanath Swami, there's Kripa. You may not know some of these devotees. Pancha, what's his name? Huh? No, not him. Pancharatna. Many of them came up to Canada to escape the war efforts. The whole mood in those days was, what are we doing in Vietnam? It's a ridiculous war. What are we doing there? And so the whole culture that I grew up with is anti-war, peace, brotherhood, groovy, baby, all that kind of stuff. So everyone had to adjust their way of thinking. Instead of someone is aggressive towards you, I shall return the favor. I will reciprocate, and I will be aggressive too. I had to adjust. We had one girl who stayed in our temple. She had, she had some of those attacks. What do you call that when you get some?
Seizures? She was like possessed?
No, she wasn't possessed.
Seizures?
Yeah, she would get seizures, epileptic seizures. And she sometimes get a little bit riled up. So there's one time, I was the temple president of the temple, and she came to complain about one of the residents who was not very nice to her. And she just kind of yelled at me. She's just very aggressive, though she was on one side of it, and just yelled at me. And she had I think she's a good girl, she just has this physical condition. So she yelled at me, and I decided, well, I'm not going to yell back at her. I'm going to adjust. I'm going to do what people normally don't do. And I just let her say what she wanted to say, and it kind of hit the wall. Like, she was there, and the desk is here, I'm sitting here, and she threw everything at me, and I kind of let it go, like I was like a transparent by a medium, and it hit the wall, and it kind of bounced back to her. And it sounded pretty nasty, like if you record yourself. Has anybody ever recorded themselves snoring? It would be such an embarrassing thing. And so that's me. No, it's not. You will live in denial, right? So it all came back to her, and she said, then she went silent, and I didn't say anything. She said, uh-oh, was that me? That was pretty nasty, wasn't I? So that's the last time she yelled at me. She learned to adjust. So while we are adjusting, I'm adjusting my seat here. Life is all about that, making changes. When we're a baby, we get comfortable, and then we become a child, and we get comfortable in that position. Then later on, we become an adolescent, and we try to be comfortable. It's pretty hard, though. And you have to make all kinds of adjustments. You have to reach puberty. So, oh, what's that all about? What is that happening on me? And then you get, to your full adulthood, and that's another adjustment. That's the time of responsibility. Oh, I better get it together. I've got a baby now, right? I got another one coming, and we have to adjust. Who's going to take care of them? I brought them into this world. So that's how you develop thick skin, and that's how you develop, sensitivity. Both your heart gets softened, and you get thicker skin. I guess that's really what it is. So in the end, all this adjustment that has to take place, just like being in traffic, have to adjust. This guy's wild on the road. Let me get a little bit, off and let him have his moments. It's advantageous to acknowledge I've got to bend. I've got to not try not to bend the rules, but bend myself, bend my way of thinking, and that's very advantageous. Srila Prabhupada, again going back to him, he came and he wanted to transplant some ideas, concepts, and ways of doing things from India. He helped us in so many areas. And in one area, he was like in India, women aren't allowed to go on the altar in temples. But he said, okay, yes, okay, we do it because here it's different. He adjusted. He made those kind of moves because we're here in another part of the world. He didn't try to fight it. He never changed the main concepts. Krishna is God. Krishna is blue. Krishna is fun. Krishna is charming. God is playful. All this. He never changed that, But he did change some ways of doing things. He was very focused, and where he felt adjustment had to take place, he would just implement it. So that's the beauty of Srila Prabhupada, and that's why he was successful, and is still to this day, because he was liberal enough. And had he been rigid, it would attract a certain kind of people. Yes, he was rigid on himself, disciplined on himself, but he would not impose it on others, unless if you came to him and you surrendered to him, because that's what the student does before the Guru. I surrender to you. You're saying to the Guru, can you discipline me? Or another way to translate that, can you protect me? Because discipline brings protection. So all those beautiful things that he brought to us are now taking hold. There was one Irish journalist who wrote an article. I don't know if I ever shared it with you before, but it was one of the best articles I ever read, coming from public journalism. And basically he was saying, this is what he was saying, well, Hare Krishna may not be mainstream, but all their ideas are. Think about that. Like we may not be, in people's heads, it's not, they don't think about Hare Krishna in the beginning, but all of the ideas, all the concepts that Prabhupada brought forth are adapted and embraced by the world, such as non-aggression and those kind of non-violence, ahimsa, culture, and yoga, a form of yoga, mantra meditation, kirtan, and to a large extent vegetarianism, and so many ideas that Prabhupada brought that were quite cutting edge are now embraced by people. It's regular. So that he did. He was way ahead of his time in many ways. And so because he adjusted, he learned the art of bending a little bit. You have to bend and you have to stretch. It's called yoga. And so that was the beauty of what Prabhupada brought to the world. And if you don't adjust, you will fail. Times change. Bob Dylan wrote the song, "The Times They Are Changing." And if you don't change with the world, you'll either die, you'll go broke, your business will fail. You have to be in with the times. It's true. Yeah. And but there are certain compromises. Like you're in your devotees and you're in traditional garb. Some of you are not, and we're okay with that. That's all right. It's not a problem. But it's your choice. It is. And I go to Cuba every year, And there was a period where we had one of our leaders there. He insisted everything has to be done in the Western style. You know, Krishna West. You heard that term, Krishna West. And they said we have to wear Western clothes if we want to like make a dent or make a change in this society of what we call Cuba. And so he and some of his followers were insistent it had to be that way. But there was another group, well, I think we're going to do it Orthodox. We're going to be more radical, meaning we'll wear some of our devotional clothes. People like that. It's exotic. It looks cool. Like there's so many times when people say, oh, I love your color. That looks really comfortable, is it? I get that all the time, you know. The other day I was by the cherry blossoms. Those cherry blossoms are great, but your color looks even better. So, you know, the stance that I take is that why can't we have either this or either that? They call it a tyranny. When we say the word tyranny, when you say it's got to be this or that, they call it a tyranny. Like it's too rigid. Why can't there be some flexibility? You know? And so that was again the beautiful thing that Prabhupada brought to the world. Oh, those outside people. Probably. Okay, our kids. Yay, sign of life. Okay, and when we're kids and we're rowdy, we're told, like especially when we're indoors and something else is going on, don't adjust. Just adjust, just a little bit. Bring the volume down a little bit. You know, we have sometimes kirtans. They're so loud. Some of you know. The speakers and all the amplifiers are everything's jacked up. Again, my eardrums are going. We have to learn to adjust. And all those people were part of the whole heavy metal, you know, hard rock culture. A lot of them have ear problems, you know, because they went to too many concerts or they played too loud. Or what about somebody who's on, you know, motorcycle, Harley Davidson? They were real noisy. Before long, you're just going to get like this, you know, if you're exposed to it. So you have to learn to adjust. You know, you do that with the coats. Yeah, if it rains, you get an umbrella, you know. Or when the weather's really cold, you put on some extra layers. Adjustment must be there. And so, again, like the topic, what we're dealing with here is learn to flex, learn to curve, learn to bend a little bit like that. You know, even in sports, you have to learn to, you may have a plan, you know, like in football, you huddle, so why don't we do this and do that? But then something gets thrown off and you have to adjust, okay? You have to just change. One of our favorite pastimes in the summer, I just came from Mauritius, and we go into the ocean. They have fabulous beaches there. And we just go into the ocean, and we go about, you know, waist high or a little bit more up to the you know, chest level. And we bring in a volleyball, and we just like volley it up in the water and try to get off the water 108 times. You know? So, and anybody who, you know, who fails, we splash them to death. But it's a great thing because you have to, we always say volley, you know, to have control of the ball, you must use two hands. And then usually the younger men that are in our circle, they want to, I'm going to macho it. I'm going to, you know, we're going to, you just use one, and it goes way off kilter. And then, okay, if it does, and it's coming at you real fast, the ball, you have to adjust. Oh, I didn't expect that. You try to save the day. So life is all about adjusting. And when the snow comes out, you got to get your shovel if you want to get out of the driveway. So learn to adjust. That's all. And even with our stubborn mindsets, and we are stubborn, you know, stick to our guns. No, I believe in this. You know, why don't you hear the other side? Someone else has got a different idea. Maybe it's a better idea. So listen, and perhaps they do have a better idea. Isn't it Ford that's got the better idea? You know, the company, Ford Motor Company, Ford, because that was their motto. Ford has a better idea. Okay, but then other people might have better ideas also, and the whole auto industry has had to adjust. So going back to the final conclusion of the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is saying, you may have trust and full faith in your particular idea of what life is all about, but maybe you have to surrender and adjust your way of thinking. So Krishna is just telling us, make some changes, make some adjustments, and bend a little bit. And if you don't bend, you'll snap. Something will break. And finally, I'll just give another example practically. I was in Saskatchewan, my first time in the winter in Saskatchewan, Saskatoon. And it's an amazing place because they have blue skies and the sun is out and there's snow everywhere. And it's absolutely beautiful and bright and optimistic, but it's super cold, 40 below, 50 below. Some of you come from Russia and places like that, Ukraine, I guess. So anyways, I remember I was driving, those are the days I was driving. Got into, it was hard to get the key to and I got in finally, and I sat on the seat. And it was like, it almost broke in half. It was brittle. It was brittle. So that's what happened. Don't snap. That's a term you may use. Do not snap, meaning don't crack. And that happens sometimes when we're too rigid about certain issues. So let us be flexible. Let's bend. Let's roll with the punches. If someone's punching you, you see it coming at you. So I'll get close to him. Then definitely your jawbone will be broken. So if you are, and they say that about driving too, if you are slipping, just let it go. Don't try to fight it because you can, let's say, roll over, and then you might be a statistic. Yeah. So thank you. We're just looking at that. Are we doing okay right now?
Yes, it's fine.
It's okay. So maybe it'd be a good idea to adjust things just a little bit and just ask for your questions. Would that be a good idea?
Yes.
Okay, great. Thank you. All right. Yes, Prabhu. Checklist. I love it.
I have a question for newcomers, maybe if you
Okay.
will answer. All the living beings in this material world are adjustable, for the circumstances that we live or we live. But how and why we have to adjust for the Krishna consciousness, adjust our life for the spirituality? Why should we do it?
Well, what is life's
And
purpose?
how?
What is life's purpose all about? We all want to improve our life, and the way to get life to be to a nice level of holistic kind of approach to living, you make some adjustments so that your spirit, your atma, your soul will be appeased. It can't just be one way, all about the body, looking good, and then dying in the end. We have to consider the investment towards spiritual cultivation, because ultimately, like if you study Bhagavad Gita, you must try to get your identity right. I am not this body, I'm the spirit, and so that means I have to do things for my spirit. I'll just take care of this person real fast. Yes, Varun, how are you? Right? Well, my humble obeisances. Go ahead. Yes, I am. Yes, I am. Yes, I do, but right now I'm giving a class to someone. And so a bunch of wonderful Russian-speaking and Ukraine devotees. And so we're talking right now. So can they give you a nice Haribol? 1, 2, 3. So I can talk to you after. Is that okay? Around 1-ish? Darn, Haribol. Okay. A little break. I adjusted, didn't I? That's okay. No. So anyways, getting back to the issue. The Vedas teach that we're different from the body. The body is a machine made of material energy. And that my true self goes beyond this machinery. And so if that is accepted, then I have to make some flexibility, show some flexibility by investing in the soul as much as I am the body. So no one's going to force you. No one will force you. Like, is there any heavy duty guys around here that said, you have to, or else? No, it's just kind of up to your, we do our presentation here. You could take it or leave it. If you take it, you don't have to take it wholeheartedly. Take your time with it. Take baby steps with this. But at least explore it. We would always encourage that. And none of us are going to say, if you don't follow the Bhakti Yoga path or the path of Krishna, you go to flames. You go to the flames of hell. We're not going to say that. We're not that rigid. She made an adjustment. She went from this one to that. Had to, forced to, right? Yeah. So it's good to explore. It's good to be open. Again, that's what we mean by flexibility and learning to bend a little bit. Explore, look around. You're a human being. You should use your curiosity and your inquisitiveness to fulfill your role as a human being. And we shouldn't just accept anything that is presented to us. We must ask questions. That is our human right, to ask questions. That's the purpose of the brain, to ask questions. So that's what our program is all about. Letting people, we're doing a presentation, do you like it? Great, I'll tell you more. You don't like it? No problem. Just come and check on me once in a while once you change your mind. I'm always there for you. Yeah, so that's, how many people do we have here that are relatively new to the group? Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay. Did it make sense, anything that we've said so far?
Yes.
All right, yeah. So just adjusting is the topic, and it's just something that we need to do. If I'm walking down a forest trail and I see a grizzly coming towards me, I'm going to make some adjustment. I'm not going to try to confront him. I'm going to make an adjustment. I might just kind of like walk off the trail, and I won't run, but I might just stand my ground and, just say, you don't bother me. So always it's like that. It's required for us to bend and, be like a blade of grass, be like the wheat when the wind comes and blows, let it blow. Okay. Any other questions from our newer group? Yes.
Hi, sorry, I've always wanted to know, why is Krishna always represented in blue?
Krishna.
Why is Krishna blue?
Oh, I see. Well, I don't mean to be facetious or to be rude to you, but why is the sky blue? The sky is always blue. Well, let's put it this way. The color of the sky has a lot to do with many colors mixed together, you know. And Krishna's color is basically, it's a mystical blue. It's a beautiful, deep, rich blue. And we get some days when the color is just like his skin, as we understand it, the way it's expressed. It's beautiful, it's unique. You know, I don't see any blue people here, unless if you're beaten, what do they say, black and blue, beaten until you get those colors. Some of us get blue when we turn cold, isn't it? You know, yeah. One particular person, he's black, and he said, they call us colored, but, you know, white guys, or some of us are white folks, but aren't you white? Like you're Russian, Ukraine, we're white, aren't we? You are. I mean, to me it's beige and pink, you know. But if you drink a lot, parts of your body will turn red, you know? And if you are exposed to the sun, you'll get a unique, you know, red, like almost tomato red color, and then it'll go brown later on. And, you know, if you get beaten, you'll get blue in some spots. And so we're always changing our color. So this one black dude said, they call us colored. You guys are the colored guys. So Krishna's skin, it represents Krishna, Shiva, a few other avatars. They have this skin. It indicates a deep, rich, mystical, magical, like that. If you find it, you look at what makes up blue. It is a great color. It's cooling. You know, when you look at anything that's got. By the way, they got sort of a light blue tint. It's very cooling to the mind. If we painted these walls red, we'd be sort of a little bit hyped up, and we'd be more intense. So it's the choice that he's chosen. Now, there are different avatars, and they're like the Rama avatar is like a light green. And then we have some avatars who are whitish in color. And then there's the one avatar called Yajna, and he's very red. So it's funny, but we're talking about intense colors. In one way, Krishna is saying, I'm like you, but I'm also different from you. I may have features like a human, but I'm quite different on another level. We have a tattva, or a truth, that expresses that, the Chincha Beta Beta tattva, the truth of simultaneously we're all the same, but we're also distinct. We're all individuals. Does that help out?
Thank you very much, yes.
Blue is a great color. For me. Anybody like blue? Yeah. You know, you can like blue, but don't be blue. Anybody else? Yes.
What is the best way to make adjustment for a person who is very pitta?
Pitta. Oh yes. Well, yeah, some things that we would recommend, don't eat chilies. Because that will just, you know, intensify the situation. You know, things that will cool you down, calm you down. And I think we always say that if you feel the need to adjust your way of thinking, then spend some time with people who have a different idea, a different concept, and they look from a different angle. Maybe they see the bigger picture. So Sangha, we say, you know, be in an association of people that help you to see things differently. They've got different viewpoint on life itself. So these are some of the things that will help out. You know, there can't be anything worse than having two Pitta people together. You know, you probably maybe have experienced that. You know, and it can be very. I would stay clear. Yeah. But you know, the one thing about, say, like fiery people, they do get things done. They have incredible passion, and passion is necessary for things to get done. So every different kind of person has their place. We complement each other. And if we were all the same, this world would be boring. Right? And sometimes, I mean, couples are like that too. You know, there's one, within a couple, you got one person is a little bit fiery, the other one's a little more toned down. So they help each other, we complement each other. That's the purpose behind it. Thank you. Yes.
What is the best way to study Ayurveda? Is it possible to learn online or in person?
Well, I mean, it depends on your situation. Talking about how to get more familiar with Ayurveda online, there's going to be some good material there. And of course, we always encourage personalism. It's good to be with someone. Again, it's Sangha, you know, the same issue. Being physically with someone, near someone, and try to understand from a different concept. So there's a lot of merit to being physically with someone. You see their eyes, you know, you can see the beauty of the eye, or their gestures, when they're trying to tell you something that you're not so much aware of. So I'd say both online and offline.
Is it possible to find person offline? What is the best way to find the person offline? Somebody here in Toronto?
Oh, that's a good question. Well, I don't get sick that much, so I don't have so much the pressing need. But maybe some of our devotees, does everybody like to volunteer? Do you know a good Ayurvedic person?
Yeah, like my wife Anna, she's probably in the basement. She's studying Ayurveda now. That's a couple of years course. She's studying from a lady that's originally Indian lady who lived in England for a long time. Now she lives here, and she studied Ayurveda there. And she has an academy, like it's a small academy where she teach Ayurveda in like on a professional level. Yeah, so I will talk to you and I will get Anna's contacts.
That's good. Yeah, that's why we're here. We're here to exchange ideas and not just meet new challenges, but also see where, we have, it's a resource. Everyone's a resource. So this Igor, and he knows a lot of things. Good. Any other questions? Yes.
Can I ask you a question, please? So, what is the connection between Vedic understanding of the and Bhagavad Gita? Is it one and the same together, or are
Yes,
two
it is the
different
same.
concepts?
Yeah, Bhagavad Gita is a segment of one of the great epics that we call Vedic wisdom. So Krishna is teaching the Bhagavad Gita to Arjuna. There's 700 verses there. And basically he's hitting at the essence of Vedic knowledge. He said he explained it one time, long ago to the sun god. This is in chapter 4 of Bhagavad Gita. Sun god explains it to one of the progenitors, one of the fathers of humankind. And then he explains it to another king, Ikshvaku. So there's this school or this disciplic succession. So one thing that ties, it's kind of like yoga people together and Hindus and Jains, particularly those people, it's the Vedas. That's the common denominator we have. Krishna consciousness is there as well. And all the different offshoots of the different spiritual branches, you can trace back. They all seem to borrow something from the Vedas. They all seem to, whether you could even Judaism, which is one of the older traditions. You can definitely Christianity and Islam. Islam tends to be reactionary. Whatever is done Vedically, they might do it in a different way, totally the opposite. But it seems that, and Buddhism surely springs from the Vedas. The language is the same, Sanskrit and so on like that. So you find a lot of similarities. But being that this wisdom, as far as man can trace back, it all starts with this. The cradle of civilization is in India, and what has been passed on by the yogis and the sages in the past is sourced from the Vedas. And just a lot of knowledge there. That's great. And in the different fields. We talked about medicine, and there's so many other departments of knowledge that go under the classification of the Vedas. Vedas means, it comes from the word vid, to know. This is referring to wisdom. And that has no, let's say, designation or denomination. It's not relating to one particular religion, even. It's wisdom is wisdom. We're just talking about truth, which everyone should resonate with everybody. Truth. Truth, common sense. We sometimes say common sense. It's for everybody.
So Vedas is a different book, right?
Well, when we talk about the Vedas, there's just so many different. There's the Puranas. They're ancient texts, so it goes way back. The Vedas is the umbrella of all this wisdom, that with its all of its different departments of knowledge. So it's very vast. It's like an ocean. It's very, very vast, very voluminous. But in our tradition, we concentrate on the bhakti side of things. Bhakti is the essence of it all. In fact, I'll give you another Sanskrit verse from the Gita. Vedaischa sarvaya aham eva vidya vedanta kurid veda eva cham. That means, what do you learn from the Vedas? Well, you learn about what is life. You learn about the source. You know, the source behind the force. People like to look at the force, maybe the force be with you. But then basically we said, what about the source? Where did the force come from? So the Vedas point to the source. I quoted that particular verse, 15:15. Get to know, the purpose of the Vedas is to know where it all came from. Here's another nice analogy. If you really want to know who your father is, in case you're disconnected from your father, you check with your mother, unless if she's been with lots of people, then it may not be known. A funny joke I just heard the other day. Not so long ago, every father had about 4 or 5 children. Now every child has 4 or 5 fathers. So the culture is changing. It's adjusted. Maybe not in the best way. So you want to know who your dad is, then ask your mom. She probably knows. And so if you want to know the source behind this force, then check with the Vedas, because the Vedas is your mom. If you want to find out who the dad is, the source of this world. Yeah, somebody said Krishna. Okay. But thank you. These are wonderful questions. They really are. Anything else? Any other? Yes. Okay. Well, you fight over it. Okay.
First, thank you so much for this wonderful class. You were speaking about adjustment, and we had a question related to adjustment of our spiritual life in our daily life. We have a lot of aspects in our daily life, and in particular, I have a question related to our work life at our work place. You mentioned that being spiritual means being peaceful and all that stuff, but what if at your work place it's not always possible to
Be
stay
peaceful.
like peaceful,
Yeah.
and especially when you are dealing with a lot of different people, and sometimes
Yes.
you have due to your job responsibilities you have to fight with someone,
Yes.
and you cannot just act like a person and pretend not to be in the situation. You have to be in the situation.
Yeah.
And, my question is, especially when you are like you mentioned, Peter, how maybe you can give a hint how to not involve too deeply into all this,
The hint
realistic
as to-
things. Not to involve too deeply, not
Oh,
going
no,
into,
I see.
into
Just
all these
stay. Oh.
materialistic things.
Mm.
Because
Well, the answer's here, Bhagavad Gita, okay? Arjuna was thinking, I think I'll just be peaceful. And then Krishna was saying, it's not the time to be peaceful. No. You gotta run. This is not, you got the Desh Kalapata, time, place, circumstance is such that you have to be aggressive now. You know, you've had time to think about peace. The attempts were made for peace talks. Krishna said, he himself was involved in peace talks. Didn't go anywhere. They have a saying in Latin, argumentum ad laculum, which means when negotiations fail, then you have to use a stick. So there's time for fire. You know? I mean, fires do good. When a forest gets old and decrepit, fire comes in and burns everything down to the ground, and then new growth comes up, like a whole resilient, beautiful experiences there. So when there's time to fire, let fire. Use the cannonballs, whatever you have to. I think Prabhupada was saying this. He said, "Be a lion on the chase, but a lamb at home." So there's some adjustment right there. So if your business calls for it, being loud, being aggressive, pushing things on, driving a big, lorry or trailer, then that's what you have to do. If it calls for protecting your people, then you have to use some weaponry. It depends on the situation. And I'll just tell you an interesting story. When I was walking across America, I came to Toledo, and I was walking over like an arched bridge over the interstate highway. And I was at one end of the bridge, and there were two African-American young men that were coming we met in the middle, and they were eating popcorn. And one of them said, "Hey man, are you a monk?" And I said, "Well, yes, I am." I said, "Hey, can you teach us how to fight?" And I said, "Well, in our tradition, we try to negotiate first. We use a soft approach first. We use wisdom, to let's say, soften any intense atmosphere. We use wisdom we try to compromise and negotiate through wisdom. And then if that fails, then you use the weapon. So wisdom first, then the weapon. So when I explained that to these guys, "Hey man, that's so cool." I told them that our approach to life is bhakti, it's love, it's soft, it's graceful, it's gracious, But we do have a sector in our society, the trained men, in some cases women, who are trained to protect and to be aggressive, but to know when to use aggression. Like if you take martial arts training, I'm martial arts, you don't just punch an old lady in the face as soon as you get on the street. You know when to use it, when to use that fiery energy. You know when to use it, when not to use it. So that's the fine tuning of life, tweaking. Tweaking is forever. You know what I mean by that word, tweaking? Fine tune. It's forever. Forever and ever. When, I write a script and I'll pass it on to somebody who's good at English. And say, "Can you tweak this for me?" And we have a discussion, tweaking is forever. Whatever we like now would be great. But then 5 years later, the culture changes a little bit. Socially, things change. You have to change your script. So we said, tweaking is forever. I think it was 1967, one of the first James Bond movies came out. And diamonds are forever, whatever that implies. But actually, more truthful than diamonds are forever, tweaking is forever. You have to fine tune. Like you might say, these are the clothes for your daughter, right? but she's going to grow out of it. He said, no, we're going to stick to this. And you're not going to be flexible. She's going to grow out of it, and you have to adjust. You have to get more material, more cloth. So there's a time and place for everything. And if you're, a police officer or a security guy or something like that, it may call for being a little bit, stern, rigid, tough, raise your voice, put that gun down, whatever it is. It depends on the job, the career. So learn to adjust. See, you can't be like a soldier. You can be a soldier out there on the battle. When you come home, don't start shooting your wife full of bullets. You understand what I'm saying? It's a different ball game. And what's really nice about Krishna is that he's very flexible and he's very curvy. And the beautiful curves. He's very balanced. If you look at Buddha, he's very stoic like this, very symmetrical. But Krishna is too. He's got his flute out there, so the weight goes over on this side, part of this side, and he bends here. It's actually quite balanced, but he's very curvy. He's very musical. So that's one thing. And apart from seeing the hue or the color of Krishna, let's look at his pose, how he's standing. And it's actually beautiful. So again, another example, having to adjust. It's part of life. Tweaking is forever. You had a question too.
Yeah, thank you for the lecture, Maharaj.
It's just
So-
a talk.
I wanted to ask, I would like to bring spiritual advancement in my life, and probably simple approach is just added to all this material stuff we do, to family, work, everything. But I heard from wisdom people who has wisdom, that it makes sense to put spiritual advancement in the center of the life, and then essentially adjust everything around. But how to do this without breaking all these connections that we already built?
Well, first of all, let's just go back to that point of identity. What are you? Who are you? Just be convinced, I'm not this machine. And if you just stick around for a few decades, you'll believe that isn't me. That's something else, and it's rotting now. I am the spirit within the machine. Let's just make that strong, make that firm commitment in terms of what I believe I am. And then, if I'm a spirit and I'm not matter, then what really matters is that you center everything around spirituality. But because, let's be practical, because you are wired in a certain way, you are made a certain way, you have to look at that. Everyone's psychophysically unique. And Krishna talks about the 4 kinds of people that are wired. In general terms, 4 boxes are there. And if you actually follow your psychophysical nature and follow the codes that are recommended for that type of person, people will see you're real. Okay, you're being real. You're not being superficial or artificial. I think people will admire that. They'll adore that. They'll see that, yeah, maybe that's what I should do as well. I should find out what is my varna, what is my ashrama. These are terms that we find in the Bhagavad Gita, and live by those codes. And then you'll feel a sense of wholeness, oneness, and you'll be comfortable with yourself. The problem lies in all the emphasis is in the pop culture, POP, pop culture. It's all about the physicality. And pop in Sanskrit means sin. Another time I was in Utah, Utah, and I came to a particular city, not necessarily a huge place, but I was interviewed by 2 radio stations. One was a country western one, and they played that music, and I asked them, I went to see Jennifer, who was a broadcaster, the second day, and I asked Jennifer, I was just at the other station yesterday, and they interviewed me about my walking experiences. And so they were playing country western music on their station. What kind of genre of music do you play here? And she said, oh, we play pop music. I said, oh, pop, yeah, pop. But, you know, Jennifer wasn't so familiar with our terms. Or pop, like in Sanskrit, it means sin. So, so then she said, oh, Swami, put the headphones on. We're on the air, we're on the air. Okay, so we have somebody who's here, a very interesting person, right here in the studio. He's walking across America, and it's to promote spiritual awareness, the walking culture, and so on like that. And we just had a nice conversation about the kind of music we play on the station. And so he was saying that, what is it, the Sanskrit? Yeah, Sanskrit. Yeah, Jennifer, that's great. And so he was saying that pop in Sanskrit means sin. And well, that's why we have the walking monk here today, to deal with our sins. And so in the pop culture, spirituality tends to be denied. Or honestly, you know, the music, that's the literature out there, it's not about you so much, the essence of your being. It's much more about your physicality, how you can look good and how you can perform well. It's all to do the machinery. So some part of you you have to invest some time in your spirit. Take care of the bird in the cage and not just the cage. If you just look after the cage, your bird will die. So what's the bird? You. You are the bird. You need nourishment. You need seeds, whatever other things birds eat in the cage. Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else for you? Yes.
Maharaj, there are many new people here, and may I ask you, please tell about yourself as a walking monk.
Oh.
So because maybe people don't know, with a few words, we don't have much time, but
Yeah,
maybe
that's very true.
how many places you have been and
Yeah. Well, I wrote a book about my walking experiences. This is available, by the way. And so I walked Canada 4 times, you know, from the east and west coast. I wouldn't dare do the northern stretch. I would start from the north where the polar bears are. And I did that to promote the walking culture and to be more of a sannyasi, like a Swami. Monks are supposed to walk and meet people. And I did the US also, and I did a few other countries. Like I was with you, and you, and you. Wasn't I in your house? When I was in Israel, I did Israel. And I just got in from the airport. And didn't I stay with you the first night?
Yeah, so I was working but in short. So
I can't remember. I stayed. One of you hosted me, and I said, well, you know, so some programs were lined up in the evening. I said, what am I going to do during the day? In the morning, I said, can we look at a map of Israel? I said, yeah. I would say, what is the distance from north to south? And then they turn. Okay, I think I'll do it. So we just decided on the spur of the moment, we'll walk it. Of course, there's the national trail in Israel, you know, and it meets up with the sea. And then we got to the Gaza Strip. Remember, said, I don't think we should walk at this. Yeah, because the next day some bomb came and killed 9 people. We just got saved. Okay, so Israel, which is very dry, Ireland, which is very wet, Guyana, which is sticky and hot, and Trinidad, and Mauritius, and the Fiji Islands. So we did these walks to get out to see the people, to meet them, so they could see us. What's a monk, you know? And it arouses their curiosity. And from the walks, we met a lot of journalists, media, sources of media, TV, radio, and so on, like more, you know, online later on. And I did it for me. I did it for my own spiritual growth. And also, I like to think that I did it for other people who might need to hear some message about spirituality. And so we have a lot of fun with it. It was a great experience, and it was early in January. I decided I'd do another country, so I started in Suriname. I took the first steps to do Suriname. And I did have my knees replaced because of all the walking. But I like to promote walking. We need to walk more. And then if you want to calm down your passions and your angers and maybe whatever is, you know, we talk about the pitta, people, fire. You want to calm it down a little bit? Walk. Walk. The best ideas, creative ideas, come up from when you're walking. There's something in that the brain likes connected to the walking. It calms you down. It really does. And the philosopher Nietzsche, he said something about that. The best ideas come from when you're outside walking. And I think there's a lot to be said about walking outside, not just inside on a treadmill. Honestly. Outside. That's when you see the people. That's when you see the wind, you see the trees, you see the squirrels, you see the skunks, you see everything happening, and you see panorama, you know. And sometimes you see accidents happening before you, especially when they say, "Is that a monk?" That actually happened once in Quebec. I was with Veda Vyas, and there was road construction going on the one side of the, you know, St. Lawrence River, and he and I were in traditional garb, and they don't see us very often. So they were, you know, the one guy was looking a little too long, and then another car behind, like there was a chain reaction, and I said, Veda Vyas, I think we just better get out of here before they blame us for all the accidents. I was in Trenton, you know, the town Trenton, and there was somebody ahead of me. He was a monk, but he was a Christian monk, and he had denim. He had like a big robe like this covered, and he was sleeping at night with his tent in the wilderness, and then he'd get up in the morning. So people were saying, "Oh, I saw a monk," you know. And so he was like in denim patches and this color. So we actually met each other, and we exchanged ideas. And there was this one guy driving, and he was looking and not watching, just looking at us, and he almost got, you know, like killed, you know. So that's the idea. This book is it's an easy read, and it's got over 100 pictures in it. And see, there I am, yeah. And those are my dad's from Holland, so he's wearing these klompen, that's what they're called, wooden shoes.
Oh, yeah.
You know how the Dutch wear wooden shoes. So my sister saved them all this time. Some poetry in here. I'm on a motorcycle here. I'm an official member of the Hare Krishna, a Hells Angels. I'm an official member. I just sat on one, that's all I did. So we've been walking different times, and it's fun. And No regrets about that.
Could I ask a short practical question? How many kilometers you can make a day?
Well, on the average, when I first started, I was doing 42 kilometers. So according to the Athens, marathon runs, that is a marathon. 42, and I didn't know it.
Walking 42 kilometers?
Yeah, average, yeah. I wouldn't do it now because, I'm a little older. The biggest day I had was 99 kilometers.
Wow.
Yeah.
For
And
one day.
Yeah, in one day. Yeah. It was a tough day. I was in Quebec.
You fly.
Yeah, sure. But the weather was good, this kind of weather is very good for walking. This kind of weather, not the summer. Summer is, it's not advantageous. You get hot, you sweat, you get drained, you get rashes.
Do you sleep or you,
What's that?
do you sleep?
Oh, yeah. What happened was that when I was in Quebec, and I walked through Quebec City, that was part of it. And when I finished, it was the next day they had an ice storm in Quebec. And so it wasn't wise to go and walk. I just needed that break. Yeah, so that's the practical question. And where do we sleep? Usually at campsites. Sometimes in the van. That's a great experience. I have no regrets. Okay, and we were told 12, right? So thank you very much for all the questions. It was great. Howdy,